I stand to be leaving, Prime Minister. What's your proudest moment in office?
Can I thank the Prime Minister for his public service?
This is my last exchange with the Right Honourable Gentleman, and I know how much his wife and children mean to him. So I hope he will allow me to draw our time together to a close by thanking them for the love and support they have given him.
Although we've not always agreed, I've always admired the way he has led his party. I've always admired the way he's been a true patriot.
This is the end of my political journey. I leave the country in better shape than I found it. To my wife and children, I love you. Goodbye.
Not so long ago, Keir Starmer was confidently predicting a decade leading the country. Today, over a three-quarter-of-an-hour period, he bid a fond farewell to tearful friends. He'd come to the House after a standing ovation from the Cabinet, some of whom had privately connived to push him out. They'd had a whip round to buy him a carriage clock. The vibe was slightly 1950s, but the sentiment apparently appreciated. Generosity too in the Commons from the leader of the opposition, not least on Ukraine.
But there is one thing I did admire. When President Zelensky was attacked in the White House, the Prime Minister showed leadership and invited him to Downing Street. That was the right thing to do.
This gave Starmer the chance to burnish his legacy and perhaps bid for a future job in international diplomacy.
That meeting with President Zelensky, the day after he was evicted from the Oval Office, he left alone. He got a plane. We got him to come to London, and I asked him to come to Downing Street straight away. And I walked out to meet him. I gave him a hug.
MPs brought the lols too, though, an endless string of footy gags and an invitation from the Lib Dem leader.
He asked me about joining him at Chessington World of Adventures. Can I suggest 12 noon on the first Wednesday in September?
And then a jibe from Kemi Badenoch aimed at his successor.
It is important to respect Parliament. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that his successor should come to this place and answer questions rather than scurrying away for the summer?
Starmer didn't take the bait and couldn't have been more magnanimous about the man who's pushed him out.
Mr. Speaker, I will give my wholehearted support to my successor. I want this Labour government to be a success. I want our country to be a success. I shall give my support privately if asked for, not publicly when not asked for.
With the tributes, though, came the tears.
Every Prime Minister knows when they take up the torch that the day will come when they have to pass it on. That day has come for me. This is the end of my political journey.
You'll remember the Chancellor sent the market spiralling after she was spotted crying at PMQs last year. Today, it was another difficult day in the office for her and him.
To my colleagues on these benches, I am proud of all we have achieved together and proud of each and every one of you. To my successor and each of you, I will give my full support. To all colleagues across the House, can I wish you good health and happiness. To all those in the gallery whose lives have been changed or improved by this Labour government, and all across the country who struggle to be seen or heard, you're the reason I came into politics. To my wife and children, I love you. Goodbye.
It was classy, it was a moment. We'll remember it like we remembered these.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Nothing is really impossible if you put your mind to it. After all, as I once said, I was the future once.
And I wish everyone, friend or foe, well, and that is the end.
On Monday, it will be the end for Starmer too. The future belongs to Andy Burnham. Make of it what he will. Well, hello and welcome to Wednesday's show. Lots to talk about with Keir Starmer's last PMQs, more hints emerging about what an Andy Burnham premiership might look like. We'll also have the former Labour leader, Neil Kinnock, with us on the sofa. But before that, there is the small matter of a certain World Cup semi-final between England and Argentina that's getting underway in less than an hour. So let's head there now and speak with sports presenter Jackie Beltrão. And Jackie, it's not long now. Tell us what the atmosphere is like.
It's not long now. I think a lot of the fans have gone into the stadium behind me, 68,000 it holds, and the atmosphere is really building. They're full of confidence, the England fans. Not a match to be frightened of, not like in past years. There was so much pain at the hands of Argentina in knockout matches in years gone by. In '86, at the hand, literally, of Maradona. In '98, on penalties. But today, there seems to be loads more confidence. Just to reiterate, 3 changes made by Thomas Tuchel to that side. So Reece James, Jed Spence and Morgan Rogers are in for Ezri Konsa, Nick O'Reilly and Noni Madueke. Now, I managed to keep 2 fans with me. A lot have gone in, but I've managed to keep 2 with me. Michael and Molly, who live in Kansas. But, Michael, you're English.
Yeah.
Where are you from originally?
From Torquay in Devon.
So what are you thinking of this match? You said to me before, biggest match since '66. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I was too young for the '86 Hand of God, but I remember very vividly that France '98 and the pain that caused, and the disallowed goal from Sol Campbell at the end, the red card, but then also the redemption in 2002. So there's a lot of history here, and I think there's a little bit of a difference here that we feel very ready, and this is the game you want as an England fan. I mean, this is the game that if you could have dreamt this up before the tournament, that you're ready for and you won. And I think the team needs this. If we're going to go on and beat Spain, you want this kind of victory before you go into that game. So I'm ready for it. I feel good, and I think the team's going to perform today.
Molly, just a quick word with you, because you have got baby on board. So there's actually 3 of you at this match today. What a story that's going to be to tell him or her if this match is won by England and they get to a World Cup final for the first time since '66.
I know. That's the most fun part, and it's a little boy, so I don't know. We're having talks of, are we going to have Jude, Harry? I don't know what that name's going to be, but we might have to do something for the England team.
So it could be Jude, Harry, or Harry, Jude, or...
Tommy, Jed, all the names are on board right now.
Tell me about this England team, because it does feel like there have been lots of things to learn on the way, quite a lot of struggles in this World Cup, but they have learned a lot. The Mexico game, being down to 10 men, being at altitude, and all the things that went with that, and then containing Norway, coming from behind, keeping Erling Haaland at bay. They've done a lot of good things that were hard things. Yeah. Do you think that'll stand them in good stead today?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a glass half full person, and I've been ultimately positive from the start of this England World Cup campaign. There's been challenges from the start, and every World Cup interview I listen to from Thomas Tuchel, the guy's rational, he understands the game, he's reasonable, and there's a plan. And nothing is perfect in life, and I think every obstacle that's been put up, we've had an answer for. It's not looked great at times, but we've had an answer for, and I think that's going to be the same again today.
And he's made 3 changes. He's got a really good bench, hasn't he?
He does, and a lot of good team chemistry. You can tell that team has fun with each other. They back each other. They're there to win it together, and it sounds like they wouldn't want to do it with anybody else.
You know what, there's a lot of criticism beforehand of the players that maybe he should have brought with him and then didn't, but he said he was trying to create a certain sort of, like you said, an atmosphere and a brotherhood. Do you feel like he's done that?
Absolutely, he's done that. I think my own personal opinion is I think the media reads too much into that stuff. In Thomas Tuchel, we trust. He knows more than we all do about football. He's proven it at the highest level, and we have to trust in the guy. He knows his stuff, and he's done his research. His knowledge and expertise in the game is second to none. And it doesn't matter who's not here. What matters is who's here, and really we just have to back him. And he'll live and die by the sword ultimately, but it's been a fantastic World Cup. We haven't been to a World Cup semi-final over the last 40, 50 years, rarely. So I'm all in on Thomas Tuchel. He's been fantastic, and I think today's going to be the day we can finally get to another final since 1966.
Are you excited or are you nervous now?
Both. Definitely so grateful to be in this environment, this atmosphere, to see this match. There have been some nerves, obviously, because there's a lot of passion. We really want England to win, but I'd say a mix for sure. We're just ready to get to the end and hopefully have an England win.
Yeah, and I'm nervous. Key moments are going to decide the game, but ultimately, like that's what we're here for. World Cup semi-final, the best players in the world, Lionel Messi. But we got Jude Bellingham, we got Harry Kane, and key moments are going to decide the game, and that's the way it should be in the later stages of these tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I'll let you go in and enjoy the match. And it is actually the first time that the teams ranked 1, 2, 3, and 4 all made it through to a semi-final. England being the 4th ranked team. Although with the bookies, they are the slight favourites, just ever so slightly the favourites to win this because of the struggles that Argentina have also had at this World Cup. But honestly, most people will tell you it's a 50-50. It depends what kind of magic Messi can conjure tonight.
Jackie, thanks very much. And we'll have more build-up coming up a bit later. But as we saw there, it was an emotional send-off for Starmer at PMQs. And I'm pleased to say, tonight we're joined by someone who knows all about leading the Labour Party, Lord Neil Kinnock, alongside former Labour Deputy Leader, Baroness Harriet Harman, and former Education Secretary Gillian Keegan, who are my sofa duo this evening. But first, Neil Kinnock, I mean, it was emotional, wasn't it? Was there a tear in your eye when you were watching it?
To be honest, yes. Especially at the end when Keir referred to Vicky and the kids. But obviously it was unavoidably emotional, given all the circumstances. And what was great was, not surprisingly, Keir was very graceful. He was light-footed, which I wish he'd shown more of over the years. Yeah. So does he. And Kemi Badenoch was very well behaved. So the whole of the event had a certain dignity about it, which is welcome.
You know, the claim that he made, that he left the country in a better state, is that a bit of a stretch in all honesty?
No, it isn't. I mean, he listed achievements. Now, even aficionados, anoraks, like you and me, are not entirely conscious, and this goes for political activists, of the advances that have been made. He listed a lot of them. There's quite a few which are very substantial that he didn't list because of time or whatever. Those advances have either been obscured by absurdities, wrong policies, wrong directions, daft things.
Well, like the winter fuel allowance.
Winter fuel allowance was one of them. Mandelson was another one. There have been others. Or they've hardly been whispered by what passes for government communications. Right. And so, I mean, I do meetings and fundraisers and whatnot, and part of my shtick now, really, I suppose it is to say at some point in the speech, the following things have occurred. And you can see people think, yeah, I've heard of that. And I say, you've heard about it, maybe, but you don't know about it because of those two factors, which is a shame.
But that's about leadership and it's about communication. So
it is.
You know, does he really only have himself to blame for where this all ended, or is that exaggeration?
It's about followership as well, because there's no time in history in which the Prime Minister could do the whole lot. But certainly now, in the era of rolling news, 24-hour communications, snap, 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 everybody wanting instant gratification or instant stimulation. The idea that the Prime Minister could be responsible for all that is complete nonsense, of course. But it's then up to the organisation, to the movement, to get enough people with enough authority in their presence, their voice, and their commitment to get the story over.
So was he let down by the machine in a way as well?
He hasn't been well served. I'll put it like that. Because there are people of talent there, there's no question about that. But they're not of politics. They don't begin from the idea that you can only express political ideas, ideals, policies, purposes, if you are metaphorically wearing other people's shoes or riding on their bus. And they didn't have people who could do those things.
So the first thing Andy Burnham needs to do is establish a team around him in Downing Street, but also at Party HQ that serves him better.
I think he's got it anyway. But in addition, of course, the big distinction between Andy and Keir is that Andy is now a fully fledged politician.
Now, you say, I mean, let's not forget, you didn't back him in 2010, did you?
I did. In fact, I supported him
2010, did you?
2010.
You backed Ed Miliband, didn't you? And,
you know,
you basically picked a man who went on to lose the next election.
Wait,
so what does that say about the guy who's coming in that he couldn't do that?
I'm not in a position to comment. I'm twice as bad as that. I lost 2 general elections, so it's no good giving me lectures about that. So when Andy ran and was the rational candidate, as far as I was concerned, I was very strongly committed to him. In fact, I joined his team. But I didn't think it was a profitable use of my time after the second or third meeting I went to. And even though I liked the guy always from the beginning of the century, very capable young man with the right ideas and commitments, a good backstory, all that stuff, and real principles. I liked all that. But he has advanced so much in the last 10 years that he is fortunately very recognizable, but he's got a hell of a lot more kit than he had those years ago when he ran in 2015.
I hope you're not talking about running kit, by the way.
Oh, no, well, but it's the maturity. He's even changed that.
He's gone for a different pair of shorts. Well, let's talk about what lies ahead under Andy Burnham, because in a way we know so little, don't we? And there have been howls of protest at the idea of a wealth tax, a property tax, the idea of
what do you expect? They're in business to howl, aren't they?
Who's they?
The people who've got the wealth and the property.
Right. So he should face that down, shouldn't he?
Well, there are ways to deal with that. One of the ways, for instance, is to specify what he wants the resources for. For instance, if he said to Baroness Casey, I want you to bring forward your review, a comprehensive review of social care, and we want to kick it off in 2028 at the latest, and therefore I need, 8 billion or whatever it is. I think it is about that. So the consequence is I'm going to equalise capital gains tax with the rates of income tax. So instead of paying just over 20%, they pay 20%, 40%, 45%. That's 12 billion a year.
Okay,
Thank you.
But that you picked a less controversial one.
And the only people being affected are those who are earning their living from capital gains, which they claim to be dividend profit, the benefits of ownership, and actually they're just incomes that should carry income tax.
OK, you picked a less controversial one. I was talking about a wealth tax, the land value tax that's been floated. I mean, should he be bold on that too? Good idea.
Lloyd George thought it was a good idea, and he was hardly a Leninist revolutionary communist, was he? So, I mean...
So be bold is your message to Andy Burnham, even if you get the howls from London and the South East?
Bold is a bit sort of brassy. Audacious is...
You calling me brassy?
Well, no, you did. Oh, God, no. But audacious, yes. You wrote a smashing book once called Awkward Bloody Women.
Bloody Brilliant Women.
Bloody Brilliant Women. So you're joining them there. Anyway, the thing is that there are an assortment of policies that would demonstrate direction and purpose, not in any dictatorial way, but in ways that identify in a country yearning for a sense of direction and purpose, they would say, OK, either we're on side, which a lot of people will be, and others will say, damn it, he really is making change, and it's in the right direction, we will give him the benefit of the doubt.
I've got a few other things I want to put to you.
Yes.
But at this point, I want to bring in our sofa duo, Harriet Harman and Gillian Keegan, who both, I believe, have houses in the South East who would be hit by a property tax. Well, I just wonder whether what you guys... Harriet, first, what you make of the idea that, there are people in London and South East who are going, how the heck do I pay $15,000 a year or whatever it is? What's your response?
I think this is one of the many very, very difficult decisions Andy Burnham will face, because the manifesto that Labour was elected on in 2024 said that we were going to be fiscally responsible, we weren't going to borrow money to pay for day-to-day spending, But it also said we wouldn't put up the basic or higher rates of income tax, we wouldn't put up VAT, we wouldn't put up national insurance contributions,
so
we wouldn't put up corporation tax. So that's why, if he's looking to the investment we need in public services and in infrastructure, he's got to address himself to the issue of where do you find the money from. So I think that what he's saying is, I'm not ruling anything out at this point, but it's fair enough for people to ask, well, where are you going to find the money? But I think
would
these
you
decisions...
be happy to pay a new property tax, 15 grand a year, a levy, a percentage levy? Would you be happy with that?
Who said it's 15 grand a year?
Well, that's what there's been some calculations done of a group that he supported in the past.
Well,
it's quite a sizable sum.
I would agree with what Neil said, is if he comes forward and says, this is my social care plan that is going to deal with a massive problem at the moment, and this is the way we're going to need to fund it, well, obviously, I'm going to be supporting the government anyway.
Right.
And I'm sure he'll come at it with the right principles and values. But he's going to have to deal with it really quickly, because these decisions are not going to sit around for him to be able to think about for months. He's going to have to make decisions very, very quickly. So it's a very big challenge he faces.
You'd be happy to pay up, would you, Neil, on your house?
Well, the point is, I guess I could manage 15 grand. There are a lot of people who couldn't. So there's got to be a relationship between obligation to pay and capacity to pay. So that's very
Julian
clear.
keeps shaking her head. What do you make of it?
There's just simply
to have that.
There's just simply no mandate. He has no mandate to do this. And the taxpayers work really hard for their money. A lot of it gets wasted. That's what I saw in government.
Hey, wait a
and
minute,
a lot of it...
Was there a mandate?
We're not allowed to interrupt.
Was there? Sorry, love, I didn't...
It's a polite programme. We get on like they were in PMQs.
Henceforth, I will obey the rule.
OK.
Was there a mandate for cutting national insurance contributions and leaving a bloody great big hole for the incoming government? I don't remember that mandate.
The actual national insurance contributions had actually gone up to pay for social care. Actually, this policy you're talking about, which I agree, anybody who's ever known anybody with dementia, go through that, and that for the first time they learn that their house, unlike if they had cancer, is suddenly at risk.
Right.
I agree, and I was the social care minister taking that policy through.
Right.
I didn't vote for Liz Truss. Luckily, she only lasted 49 days. She got rid of it. But actually, what she did was she reduced the taxes that we'd said in our manifesto we were going to put up, because it was there to fund social care.
There's a bit of fancy footwork going on there, but
but that was actually, I think if you said to people we're going to reduce your taxes, they'd be okay. If you say we're going to increase your taxes without a mandate, this guy is literally just walking into Number 10 without a single question being answered to a journalist, to anybody.
He's answered a few questions.
He did Reddit. That does not count.
No,
we don't do Prime Minister by Reddit.
He also did a rival broadcaster who actually used to be my boss on LBC, but we won't speak about that. We hope to have him on the sofa soon. But, Neil, is this a problem that he hasn't been scrutinised extensively, that he hasn't had a long build-up, he hasn't trialled his messages around the country?
He was talking about the Smiths on that one.
Is it making his job harder?
It may make the job harder for him.
Yeah, that's
I don't think it's more difficult for the country generally, because, first of all, who really, really, really is tested in circumstances in which there hasn't been a general election.
Oh, I don't know about
which is
that.
not going to be...
Theresa May's dementia... Well, not in a general election.
Not in a general election.
Leadership races, they do at least have to go to lots of hustings. They get journalists at each hustings and they have to go through and ask questions, and they go to the members eventually as well. None of that happened here. Not one of it. And I don't know what you think about that interview, the LBC, but it was literally more about the Smiths and pop culture.
And
do we know his tax policy? It was more, the World Cup and did we know about his tax policy? We didn't know about who he's going to choose for Chancellor. Literally none of the big questions are known after that interview. So that was a little bit more of a, puff interview, I thought.
Sure, it wasn't, but it wasn't Andy's fault, was it?
No, but he could have put himself to scrutiny.
He can say yes to coming on the sofa, which I'm sure he will, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
But it's just a very odd situation, because I think he doesn't want to be preempting the fact that he's got to go to the palace and the king has got to ask him to form a government, and therefore he doesn't want to be announcing who's going to be in his cabinet when he's not yet Prime Minister. So we're in a very unprecedented, weird situation.
Right.
Really, we are where we are now, or at least we will be on the 20th, on Monday. And at that point, he will have to start doing things.
Well, and that also...
introducing himself to the country, because we all know about him.
Yeah.
But a lot of people in the country... obviously, people in the northwest know him from being mayor of Greater Manchester, but a lot of people in the country don't really know who he is.
Yeah.
And he's going to be their leader, so he's got to let them get to know him in order to be able to command their confidence to take him on what is a very difficult journey that this country's on.
And he's a very bad start for the rest of the country. Can you imagine all the people who don't know him are going to be footing the bill for his principles and values? We have no clue what they are.
Holding his feet to the fire.
I'm just wondering, and maybe John would say the same thing, but how well known was John Major when he succeeded Margaret Thatcher?
Oh, that's way before my time, but at least
I remember that.
He was in cabinet and he was actually in Parliament.
He'd been Foreign Secretary, Chancellor Exchequer, Chief Financial Secretary.
Bigger than Mayor of Manchester.
Well, yes, absolutely. Who knew about it?
I'm
not challenging you or John or anything like that.
And then he won an election and got a mandate.
Of course he did.
I think for most people,
I know you would.
For most people, the issue of how he came to be Prime Minister is going to fade away very quickly, straight away, come Monday.
Depends if he does well. If he does badly, they'll be like, we just let him through without any scrutiny.
And Neil,
so what I was going to say is that...
No, he isn't. No, he got 3 years. And
well, he hasn't got 3 years to prove himself. I mean, he's got like 100 days or whatever.
Oh, OK, well, if you want to make those rules and add it into the unwritten British Constitution, help yourself. But you know, Cathy, come on, you know that's meaningless. What he can do is to demonstrate the sense of commitment and of strategy and of positives that can make a difference to the way in which the country is run, as well as materially in changing the conditions in which people live their lives. Now, I mean, if people have got a higher commitment than that in democratic politics, I've yet to find it.
You know, you saw off the Trotskyists. Keir Starmer saw off the anti-Semites. Yeah. Has a lot of the heavy lifting been done for Andy Burnham, or has he got a huge challenge ahead of him?
Well, Tony Blair was always kind enough to say that he couldn't have been where he was if I hadn't been where I'd been, etc. The best definition of all that is, Roy Hattersley said to me, you made the Labour Party electable, which was a very generous and kind thing to say. And I said, yeah, Tony Blair got it elected. There's a hell of a difference. And yes, the Labour Party has been cleansed of the vileness of anti-Semitism, although there are some people I know damn well are not anti-Semites, but just through sheer vanity wouldn't acknowledge the correctiveness or the correctness of what Keir Starmer was saying, which that's stupid. But anyway, in the end, they're no great loss to us. But if we've got a party that is committed, united, functioning, well-organised, dedicated to victory for the United Kingdom, then Andy's job is made much easier. Right. And I think that's what Keir's left.
OK. We're going to let you go in a second, but I just want one final thought on the big match. You're obviously a passionate Welsh rugby fan. Well, are you watching, are you cheering England on? I know it's football, not rugby.
For the kids, for the little boys and girls, I really do hope that they make advances. I think they'll win tonight. I think they're going to come up against a really stern challenge with Spain. But you never know. It's a funny old game.
No, it's not Spain anymore. Oh, sorry, I mean, you mean further down the track.
Well, yeah, in the final.
Win tonight.
You're assuming. You're taking a lot for granted.
Well,
there.
no, I'm not. I think they will win. Okay. I mean, if you can find a fella or many women in our country who have not an opinion on what's going to happen tonight, you'll be very lucky or
Neil,
unlucky.
Lord Kinnock, thank you very much for getting on the sofa, and I'm hoping that you've kept the spot warm for Andy Burnham in a few days, weeks. Let's watch this space.
That's the first thing I'll tell him.
Please do. Thank you very much. Well, there are a few Keir Starmer allies who've been more loyal than Jenny Chapman. Baroness Chapman chaired his 2020 Labour leadership campaign, was his political secretary when he was leader of the opposition, and has served as a minister in the Starmer government. She was also at Downing Street for Sir Keir's final cabinet meeting earlier, and she joined me here on the sofa just before we came on air. Take a look. Jenny Chapman, it's been a hugely emotional day, hasn't it? I suppose a bit of a rollercoaster over the last few weeks, really.
It has been a rollercoaster the last few weeks. I thought that today would be fairly easy, but actually watching the reaction of MPs and others just really taking in what's happening and listening to Keir today at Cabinet and at PMQs, I think it has been a little, I'd say it was poignant, probably more than emotional, but it has been, it's a big moment when a Prime Minister does their last Prime Minister's questions. It is a moment that Parliament does respond to.
I mean, just describe that rollercoaster. You know, has there been anger? Has there been tears? You know, grief? What has it felt like?
Oh, all of the above, I think, if I'm honest. You work really hard in these jobs. Politics it's a rough business for sure, and you feel very strongly about the team that you're working alongside, and the purpose and the motivation that binds you together is very, very strong. And when that comes to an end, it is difficult for people. And I think anyone who tells you they're not bothered and they just move on, you know, they're emotionally bankrupt and probably, you know, not a good friend. So it is hard, but I think what helps is knowing that we've got a future to work really, you know, to focus on. We won just a couple of years ago. We've got a full term. We've got a great majority. There's a massive amount that we still need to do for the country. And I think that what Keir is wanting from people that supported him is that we continue to support Andy Burnham and we really work together and we make sure that we rally around and we can deliver for the country.
And I'll come back to the future in just a second, but just going to the Cabinet meeting, you know, just the mood round the table, you know, would you say there is, you know, sort of remorse given some of the people around the table were trying to push him out?
I think it was reflective. I think people were really looking at what we have done and what we need to do next. And I think that, yes, there was regret from some, for sure, about how this has come about. But
regret or anger?
Not anger this morning, actually. No, there wasn't anger. But I think you do take your lead. If Keir Starmer can say, everybody must unite, there's a huge job of work to be done, I will not be part of that, but you all need to be.
It was very magnanimous, wasn't it?
Very, yes, that's right.
Would you say, you know, you're a close friend of his. Do you find it sometimes hard to be as magnanimous as he has been today?
Sometimes, yes, if I'm honest with you. But it's really important that we are, because this is bigger than any one of us. You know, we've got an important role that the country has entrusted us to deliver, and we've got to be true to that.
Right.
And we can't allow whatever personal hurt or any of those things to get in the way. You know, yes, we've got waiting lists down in the NHS. Is the NHS completely fixed? No, of course it's not. There's a massive amount to do. Yes, we've lifted all those children out of poverty, but we still have a massive problem as a country with youth unemployment. There's a huge job now for the Labour government to do. We've got fresh legs on the pitch. Time to carry on delivering.
A lot of football metaphors today. Yeah. Well, just looking at the legacy for a minute, when you look at Ukraine and foreign affairs, obviously that's going to be a key part of his legacy. There was an interesting thing from Save the Children. They posted a blue plaque on Gaza. History will not forget complicity. What do you make of that?
I think Save the Children were wrong to do that. I just don't think that now is the time for using that kind of language and making it so personal to an individual. I understand that many of us, me included, have got strong views on Israel, Gaza and those issues. But I think using words like complicity, talking about witnessing the murder of children and the way that they've gone about it, I think it diminishes Save the Children as a charity. I think you can make really strong arguments and we can have the debate. I had a robust conversation with the head of Save the Children UK about this earlier today.
Well, you picked up the phone?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important that you do have those conversations when you have a disagreement. You know, Save the Children is an important body in the UK. I don't personally think that this was the right way to go about making the points that they wanted to get across. it's up to them to defend what they did.
But it's not a million miles away from what the incoming leader, Andy Burnham, has said.
It's a very long way.
Well, but he's apologised for Labour's stance under Keir Starmer and says, the party has not got it right.
He was talking about the party not getting it right initially when we were in opposition. I think in government we have reinstated funding to the UN agency that supports refugees in Palestine. We did to UNRWA. We did that straight away. We've sanctioned members of the Israeli cabinet. We've withdrawn arms licences. We've protected all of the overseas aid that we put into Gaza. I myself have been there alongside people who've been forced to move by settler violence. So I think we've got a strong record. I do not think for a second that the language that was used in the Save the Children social media campaign this morning or last night are things that Andy Burnham would ever say. I think they're very, very different.
But he has hinted at a change of policy. Do you think that would be a mistake?
I think it's fine to review policy and to think, do we want to take things... I mean, this situation is evolving. There are elections in Israel coming up. If he wants to make a change to our posture, then I think that is absolutely something that we should consider. But I don't think that any credible Prime Minister would articulate what they wanted to get across on Israel-Gaza or any of the many other conflicts that we're contending with in the world would use that kind of language.
There are difficult decisions to take as Prime Minister. You're going to offend people whether you decide one thing or the other. Do you think that Andy Burnham as Prime Minister is going to find governing is a tough job? Let's be honest.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, nobody becomes Prime Minister and says, well, that was a lot easier than I expected. He's going to find it tough. It is tough. But I know that Andy will expect it to be hard. He's not coming into this for an easy life. He knows what he's taking on and he is building his team. He's really thinking hard about what he needs to do. He inherits 2 years' worth of progress. He gets a manifesto that the government was elected on to work from.
But he hasn't had much time to prepare, has he? And, he hasn't got much room for manoeuvre on the economy. His prime goal is cost of living, for example. I mean, the party's got sky-high expectations of him. Do you think would a longer handover and more scrutiny as well have actually helped him?
Maybe, but I think sometimes there's a case for just getting on with it. And I think once...
at the deep end?
Well, once Keir Starmer made the decision to leave, I think that you can't just stay as Prime Minister having made that announcement for very long, actually. I think your authority drains away and you do need to allow the next person to take control. I think that he's not starting from a blank sheet of paper here. There is a majority that was secured upon a manifesto. And
he's got to stick to that manifesto.
He does need, and he said that as well.
But to the letter of the manifesto, fiscal rules, taxation.
He needs to respond to events
tax.
as he finds them, and he will make those decisions as he sees fit. But he is not starting from scratch. And I think that it's not like when you come into government for the first time in 14 years. Yeah. So it's up to him, how he chooses to do that.
But a wealth tax, a property tax, would you steer him away from that?
That's up to him.
Outside your bailiwick.
He will be making those choices, I'm sure, and giving them loads of thought right now.
Couple of final questions. The carriage clock, I've got to ask, was it a bit retro?
Well, so I contributed to David Lammy's Wit Round, and when he said it's a carriage, I was like, well, that's imaginative. But
not.
But as it turned out, clocks are something that were important to Keir and his dad, who had a real passion for clocks because he liked how they were made and the detail and precision. And actually, it was what Keir really treasured that. And it was a lovely moment to see David Lammy hand over that gift to Keir Starmer this morning. And I think that was a moment where everyone thought, this is being done well. There isn't the bitterness and the acrimony that I think we've seen in previous changes in the past. And it was done with really good grace and a lot of empathy, which was good to see.
Tears at PMQs, tears around the cabinet table?
Not that I noticed. No, not that I noticed.
No one had the tissues out. Well, very finally then, it is obviously quite a big game tonight.
Yes.
Keir Starmer, obviously a big fan. Are you going to be at a football watch party with him?
I will be watching the match. Probably. He's a way, way bigger football fan than I am. I'll watch an England match, but I'm not a kind of season ticket holder like he is, and he gets very, very involved when he watches football, and I'm a bit, you know, I want England to win for sure.
So you'll be watching together at some point, probably?
Well, I don't know tonight, but I just think that it's an evening that the whole country is going to really get around their screens and really they all want the same thing tonight. We all want the same thing, hopefully, on Sunday, and, you know, let's hope. And I'm not going to say it's coming home or any of that, because that's just...
We've had David Baddiel on the sofa dodging the question
This
slightly.
very sofa?
Yes, this very sofa. Baroness Jen Chapman, thank you very much. Well, Harriet Harman and Gillian Keegan are on the sofa tonight. Harriet, do you think that Andy Burnham should be daunted by the challenge ahead? Or, you know, has Keir Starmer done a lot of the hard work, as we were discussing earlier with Neil?
Well, I think it's a huge challenge. I think he'd be justified in being daunted, but I hope he isn't, and I'm sure that he's ready to step up. Because although he's inherited from Keir Starmer a very big majority of Labour MPs, and although there's, you know, a bit more economic stability and a bit more falling in NHS waiting lists, the other thing that he's inherited now is a lot of mistrust and disaffection amongst the public, because when they voted in 2024, they voted for change and they didn't see it happening. And now they're thinking, well, are they all the same? They're promising they'll do things and they won't. So that the natural mistrust there is has actually deepened. So he's got to introduce himself to the country, he's got to rebuild trust, and he's got to deal with all the practical difficulties that are still there, many of which are generated from abroad. So I hope he's not daunted, and I think most people in the country want the Prime Minister to succeed. It's disappointing that Keir Starmer has left after 2 years, having lost the confidence of the Parliamentary Labour Party because he'd lost the confidence of the country. But we've got to hope this time it works out. But what I'm hoping is that we haven't got into political short-termism. You know, there's often been discussion about economic short-termism, where you're always doing things for the next day and not planning for the longer term. I hope that we're not into political short-termism, which is instead of...
if he doesn't see immediate results,
instead of waiting where you elect somebody and then you wait for 5 years and then you decide at the end of 5 years whether you think they've done a good job or not, whether you'll keep them or kick them out. We seem to have got into a bit of a habit now of making a judgment much more quickly, and things do take a long time to turn around, and instability is not good.
I mean, Gillian, I could see you were pretty taken aback by what you heard from Neil about the possible changes on tax. How do you think it's going to go?
Well, you cannot just change the whole tax system when you've said you're not going to. It literally, you do not have a mandate. And it's almost surreal. This whole thing's surreal. The guy who got a huge majority turned his party around. We walked in with all those, you know, sort of claps. 2 years later is out. And the guy who's coming in has had zero scrutiny. If you were writing a film, you wouldn't write a script this bad. And one of the things that really, really worries me is, you know, what went wrong with Keir Starmer? What's he really sitting there thinking? Why did this go so tragically wrong? And I think what really he did was over-delegate. He left things to the Chancellor that he shouldn't have. He left decisions on Peter Mandelson to people he shouldn't have. And then the budgets have been catastrophic.
Right.
And I don't know whether any one of them have noticed that growth has literally almost disappeared. And that's the problem. You're not going to have money without getting the economy growing.
Second fastest growth in the G7, I think.
Yeah, but it's tiny. It's tiny.
That is true.
It's not enough money to service our debt and do all the things they want to do. It's really second fastest when they're all on the floor is literally why they bother saying that. You use real numbers when you need real money to spend. We've fastest this.
We've got to move on. We've got the big game to get to. But first, in a week where the safety and security of those in the public eye has been front and centre, another development today. The Metropolitan Police announced they'd arrested a man on suspicion of sending threatening communications to a member of Parliament over an ex-post threatening to shoot Nigel Farage. Speaking before that news emerged, Reform's Home Affairs spokesman, Zia Yusuf, told Sky News he also hoped to boost security for former politicians at a cost of around £100 million.
It is quite a large group of people, well aware of that. Yes, it will cost money, well aware of that. But I maintain we do not have a functioning democracy in the United Kingdom if MPs feel that they, again, of all parties, I want to be crystal clear, the policy response we are proposing, and I've actually advocated for some time, is for all MPs of all parties, and it will be based in terms of former politicians. It will, of course, risk assessments will form a part of it. But, you know, the threshold at which point that security becomes necessary under a reform government will be much, much lower than it is currently, based on the things that I have seen within our party.
Politicians have been publicly supportive of Devon and Cornwall Police since the death of Ann Widdecombe, but I've found a recent report from the police watchdog which is highly critical of their past competence. Just take a look at this. This was from last month when it assessed the force and it really wasn't impressed. Look, when it comes to investigating crime, it's deemed inadequate. It said it isn't bringing enough offenders to justice. And here's why. It said we found that the force was allocating crimes to officers who weren't appropriately skilled, and there was a lack of support for officers who'd been allocated more complex investigations. Now, when it came to overall performance, there were some improvements since the last inspection. But look at these categories. Nothing outstanding or good, and many areas requiring improvement or just simply inadequate. Well, in response to this, Chief Constable James Vaughan from Devon and Cornwall Police told us the investigation into the death of Ann Widdecombe has no correlation or link to that watchdog inspection or any recommendations from it, which were concerned with volume crime, not major incidents and homicide. And the statement goes on, the force has a very capable and well-resourced major crime capability, which very much stepped up to the mark in response to the tragic murder of Ann Widdecombe. My thoughts very much remain with Ann Widdecombe's family and friends at this incredibly sad time. Well, Harriet Harman and Gillian Keegan are still with me. Let's talk first. Actually, let's discuss that first, because there has been some criticism of the police, hasn't there, following this investigation. The watchdog, it doesn't make for terribly palatable reading for the force, does it?
It doesn't, but, I mean, the first thing that I want to say is I was just so absolutely horrified by that sickening news about Ann Widdecombe. I mean, I was in the House of Commons with her for about 20 years, and she came in when it was like 96% men in the House of Commons and only 4% women. And she was absolutely indomitable. And a lot of them kind of, you know, who were saying very nice things about her now, gave her a really hard time, but she was absolutely undaunted by them. She was a phenomenal intellect and personality. So it's quite difficult to separate the person from the horror of how her life was ended. But I just
was she an unlikely ally of yours in some way?
No, she was not an ally of mine. She never was. That wasn't the modern Tory party with people like Gillian in now, that we worked together when we were in the House of Commons. But in those days, you know, she was on very different side of the argument, but I could see and admire the calibre of the sort of person she was. But, I mean, it's absolutely horrific how she's died. And certainly, I mean, when I saw that report about, you know, investigation of crime inadequate, it reminded me of a report that David Blunkett, former Home Secretary, did a review, which came out last week, that said there's a real problem with senior leadership in the police and that actually the force not only needs extra resources, but they need to be sorting their leadership out. But I think it was very interesting, all the stuff that Zia Youssef from Reform was talking about in terms of MPs' security, because obviously we want MPs and former MPs to be safe. That is the absolute bottom line. But we also don't want a situation where we have to be in bulletproof cars, where we have to have 6, you know, armed police officers around us. I mean, when I started out, I mean, I could just walk around my constituency and people could come up and chat to you, and that's
and mostly that still happens. That still happens today.
What's your thought on, you know?
Well, in terms of the police,
made the point, Zia Youssef, that what's the point of upgrading Westminster if there are no politicians to serve in it?
Well, so I don't really understand. When I was looking at this, I mean, I understand how everybody is anxious when this happens. But there's been, you know, this is the third potential case. When you look at it, any risk assessment, I've done RAVEC, you probably have too.
That's the body, the independent government
body
that
assesses security. There is no way, I don't think, that Joe Cox, David Amess, or probably even Ann Widdecombe would have come anywhere near the level at which they would have then got close protection officers or the armoured thing. You know, they wouldn't have been... They were backbenchers. They were actually very not controversial. They were very collegiate, both Joe and David. So... And, you know, all of us get threats which are online, and there's millions of death threats made on Twitter, actually, over the whole world. So, actually, I don't know that they would actually have really addressed the problem. If you look at it like that, it's almost impossible, as Harriet says, unless you keep everyone away from everybody, which is not... It's the key pillar of our democracy. And that's why we love the job, actually. All of us who've done the job love that aspect of the job.
OK, we could talk much longer about this, but even here on this show, we are aware that there is a big game on. It's coming up. England against Argentina in a semi-final at the World Cup. Let's go to Atlanta and speak with the sports correspondent, Rob Harris. Rob, how is it there?
Well, fans are just making their way into the stadium, those at the last minute, and it is a very different atmosphere than at, say, Premier League matches, because all the fans do mix. So we're going to have Argentina and England fans all in the same areas. How will that go down, particularly as this game could get pretty intense? We already know what a grudge match this is, and incredible to think that these teams haven't met in a competitive match since the 2002 World Cup. All that time ago, that was a victory then for David Beckham's team in the group stage. Many, though, thinking back to 1986 and the hand of God from Diego Maradona that knocked England out. 1998, David Beckham's red card, and when that ended so badly as well. But optimism hopefully high amongst the England team after the victory over Norway the other day, and always finding a way to win, whereas Argentina have struggled as well at times against the newcomers, Cape Verde, against Egypt as well. And we've seen Thomas Tuchel, he's rung in the changes as well, particularly in defence, bringing in Reece James, who's been struggling with injury, and Jed Spence making a change on the wing as well, with Morgan Rogers coming in for Nono Madueke. So he's mixing things up. What a moment this is. England one step from a potential first men's World Cup final since 1966. These are huge moments, and you also get a sense more from the Argentina fans than the England fans that there's something more at line here, more at stake for them. There is a political edge to this, and it was inflamed by Argentina's vice president as well, Victoria Villarreal, on the eve of this game, bringing up the Falklands, and she was talking about it's for the Malvinas, it's for Diego, it's Leo's last one, talking about usurping the pirates. So they're certainly bringing the Falklands into this, Argentina using it to lay a claim on the territory, which is back to be overwhelmingly UK overseas territory, and it shows just what fierce rivalries can extend the political world into football as well, as we wait here for kick-off in the final semi-final of this World Cup. Game 102. It's been a slog for many of us following every in and out of this World Cup. We already know Spain will await in the final. We'll find out very shortly if it will be England or Argentina in New Jersey on Sunday night, when Donald Trump will be there to present the trophy as well. And of course, if anyone's finding it all a bit too anxious and nervy, what will happen over the next hour and a half or so? Of course, there's always the UK tonight in the world as well.
Well, Rob, you've done a fantastic job. Love your enthusiasm. Thanks very much. Let's go to Tom Parmenter in Manchester with very excited and, I should imagine, nervous England fans. Are they?
Hugely nervous, hugely excited, and they're just watching the players coming out onto the pitch, and it is raucous in Manchester. It is a sense of huge anticipation across the country as this massive game is about to get underway. England-Argentina, many people experiencing one of sport's greatest rivalries for the first time. It goes back decades, of course, with so many episodes of controversy and anguish for England fans. But can tonight be that moment where we get through to a World Cup final for only the second time in England's history? It is, as you can see, pumped, locked and loaded here in Manchester. Guys, we're live on Sky News. Please don't swear. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling excellent. But like, Tuchel's carried it. I'm missing Southgate a little bit, but we got high hopes today.
Who's going to be the match winner?
Who's going to be England? Surely.
Which players on that England team?
Bellingham. It's got to be Jude Bellingham.
Guys, enjoyed the game. We've already had a big rendition of Hey Jude. We've already sung Wonderwall here in Manchester, and now the national anthem. This is going to be quite a night across the nation. In 2 hours' time, it will either be pure elation that very familiar feeling of the Argentinians doing it again. But Manchester is ready.
Well, Tom, I'm loving that excitement there. Thank you so much for bringing us that, and all that. It's infectious, actually, isn't it? Were you excited watching that, Gillian?
I have got actually more and more, and I suppose when you're winning as well, it really does give you, you know, it gives you the sort of enthusiasm. But I've actually now I got up for the Mexico game, I got up for the Norway game, and so I have actually started to watch. And I watched France-Spain the second half last night. So
you want to be in that heaving crowd right there we're seeing on screen, don't you? You don't want to be on the sofa.
If they win, if honestly they win, that's the place to be. That is the place to be, because the actual enthusiasm, it'll be like nothing else, apart from if you're in the stadium itself.
Yeah.
So all these places, the fan zones, I mean, they're just where you want to be.
Wait, were you tempted to go over there?
No, but I am going to Spain for the final, where I'll be with whoever Spain. Hopefully it's England-Spain. I will be in Spain, and I've booked to watch it there. And I lived in Spain for about 8 years. They love their football as much as we love the football, so the atmosphere there will be really charged. So yeah,
could be a bit tricky.
No, it'd be a good place to watch it, because they also love the Brits. So yeah, I think it's a good place to watch it.
Harriet, are you going to be watching? Are you excited?
I will, but I'll feel so nervous about it. And honestly, if it goes to penalties,
oh God, that's the worst, isn't it?
When you see them with the ball there, and there's one guy, a young guy, and the entire country is watching, I just feel how much pressure is
unbearable.
on them.
Unbearable.
So I'm just hoping
I mean, look
that
at this.
it's a win without going to
Leeds
penalties.
there, look at that.
Yeah.
Everybody's out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty nice night. Bristol's coming up.
But they've done really well
look at
so
Bristol.
far
Is that
to
Bristol or
get
Leeds?
this far, haven't they? They've done well to get this far already.
Leeds. It's a small screen. But what's your prediction, please?
OK, 2-1 to us.
Yeah, we'll win, definitely. But we are relying on very good and fair refereeing.
You're very
and the VAR. The VAR.
You're very confident, though.
I am, because every single chance they've got so far, and when you watched it and you watch them with 10 men and you're thinking, oh my God, but every chance they get, they've taken it. So, you know, even though it's been a bit scrappy, they have, I think, and of course we've got Jude and Harry Kane, and literally, if you didn't know them before, the whole world knows them now.
Right, well, huge moment. We'll all be watching. We'll all be nervous. That is it for tonight. SJ's coming up next with the UK Tonight. Don't go anywhere. See you again tomorrow at 7 p.m. Good evening.